Welcome to the finale of Can a Non-Professional Athlete Make $10,000 in prize money in 1 calendar year? We made it. It has been a whole year since I started this challenge back at Bloomsday in 2024, ending it with this video where I travel back to Bloomsday in Spokane, Washington. It has officially been 365 days since I began this challenge, and at the end of this video, I'm going to break down all of the expenditures that I had throughout the whole series, all of the money I made. Drop in the comments down below right now. Do you think that I made money or lost money doing this challenge? The answer might surprise you. Maybe not. Let's get right into this. We're gonna jump to Bloomsday and we'll come back here to talk about all of it at the end. All right, let's go. Just landed in Spokane. That's it. All right, just pulled up to our Airbnb in downtown Spokane. Weather said cloudy, but we're in the Northwest. Should have known better. Yeah, it's raining. Jumping right in, I like to get onto a shakeout run as soon as I can after a long travel day. And this is the day before the race, so I'm gonna go check out the course, show you the start and finish area. Also visualize it for myself so I can be ready on race day. All right, just heading out on my shakeout run. Let's talk about this course a little bit, okay? It's a 12-kilometer race. And let me just say, nobody knows why it's a 12K. I think they just really like the loop, and it's just the distance that makes the most sense, maybe. This is a beautiful place. Of course, shout out to the Pacific Northwest. I am from the general area, not Spokane. All right, I'm here right where the start line is going to be set up tomorrow morning. Right now, it doesn't look like anything. It's just a street. That's the elite area lobby where we get to chill before the race starts. And then the start corral, start line's right here. The start corral spans pretty far that way. Honestly, I think the start corral spans like a quarter mile. It's a pretty huge race. After starting the race, you head out of downtown and reach suburbs within about a half mile. And then most of the race is over rolling hills surrounding the river, kind of on the outskirts of Spokane. And then the finish is actually on this bridge, just that way. You come from the left side, boom, turn down the hill and finish on this bridge right in front of Spokane Falls. Holy macaroni! Exclusive. And this is something that I just love about Spokane. They built the city around the waterfall, just right in the center of the city, and it's still there. All right, before we get further along in this video, I need to talk about the prize money. Bloomsday is actually known to have quite a substantial prize money pool for both the overall and for the Americans. So first, for the overall, the prize money actually goes 15 deep, starting at 7,000 for the top, and it trickles all the way down to, I think, 200 for 15th place. Last year, I was 13th overall, and I think I made $300 from that. And then as well, the American side is where you can really make some cash. So my goal at this race is to do my best to get into that top 5. I think top American makes $5,000, and that trickles down to the 5th American making $750. Last year I managed to make 4th American, which was huge, making over $1,000 with the combined total, as you can double dip between the overall and the Americans. This year I have seen the elite field, and I'm not gonna say that I'm scared, but it's not gonna be easy. This is a pretty stacked field this year. Let's get to the expo. We're gonna keep moving on. I don't know how to do these transitions. I hate that. That's the winning transition right there. Oh, these hats are sick. Look, that's actually the elevation chart of Bloomsday. Big drop, then the triple hills. Doomsday Hill is right here. I got the hat. If you've never heard of Bloomsday, then I should fill you in that this is actually one of the biggest road races that takes place in the country. Usually we're expecting somewhere around 30,000 participants at this event. I actually feel really good. I know if you've been following along, you know that my last couple races were just not ideal, and I get that. But as of lately, I've actually had a really solid last 6 weeks of training, trending really well in the right direction. I think that I'm ready to rip a good race, probably somewhere similar to last year, if not a little better. Knock on wood. Also in this race this week, my wife is participating again. What's your goal for this week?
To run it.
That's a good goal. Do you think you're going to achieve that goal?
Hope so.
I don't care how many times I have pinned a bib to my race kit. I can't do it straight. Look, it's still crooked. Am I the only one that really struggles to get it straight? I swear, it's like one of the hardest things ever, and I've done this hundreds of times. Anyway, I've got the race kit ready. I've got food prepped, ready for the morning. Everything is green light go to run really well in the morning. And it's honestly the first time I'm stepping on the line confident in my abilities since CIM back in December. So it's long overdue. It's been 5 months since I've had a really solid race. A lot of how I feel that the training is going, honestly, tends to be direct comparison to my best build or my best fitness I've ever had. And in my case, some of my best fitness I've ever had was recently, just last fall. However, it's not an accurate way to measure progress, is what I've learned. Like, even if my workouts aren't quite as fast as they were in the fall, the trajectory going into Bloomsday is actually about as good as it's ever been. It's okay that I'm only just now kind of catching back up to maybe where I was a couple months out from CIM. All I'm trying to say is, I don't think that you should beat yourself up if you're looking at your current fitness or your current progress and telling yourself that you're in much worse position than you want to be because you're not as fit as you were at your most fit time. Fitness takes time, and every time you take a break and rebuild, you have to rebuild back up to where you were. And that's just a part of the sport. You have to take one step back before you can take 2 steps forward sometimes. This race means a lot to me too. This is where the challenge began. It has been a wonderful ride. Thank you all so much who have tuned in for every single episode for the last year. It has been such a fun journey. I have loved documenting my journey and being able to interact with all of you. I'm just feeling a little sentimental. Everybody feels a little sentimental sometimes, right? One thing that's nice about Bloomsday is that the race starts at 9 a.m. and it starts really close to where it ends. So it's pretty easy to get some good rest and get a full warm-up routine going into the race. And so far everything was going according to plan, and I felt really good going into this race. The weather was absolutely perfect and I was feeling really fit. So it's now or never. How much money can I make from this challenge? So I got to the start line area, I dropped my stuff off in this elite area they had set aside for us, and then went out for my warm-up. Warm-up. We're feeling good this morning. It's a beautiful day. By far the best weather I've ever had for a Bloomsday race. Yeah, honestly, just excited and ready to run fast. How are we feeling, Albie? How are we feeling, JQ?
Oh, we're feeling so good. Yeah. And so blessed. And I'm running with the best right here, my group.
We gotta do our best, man. That's all it is.
Yeah, let's get it. The course itself is not an easy one. It starts out with a flat first mile before it bombs down this hill and then continues to roll through the streets kind of behind the river in the outskirts of Spokane. Eventually you drop down, you cross the river before climbing Doomsday Hill right here. Once you crest that, you just have about 2.5 miles running through the neighborhoods until you make the final right turn down to the finish on the bridge. And with that, let's get to the race. The race went out pretty hot this year. I opened in a 4:34 and was already dropped by the lead pack by 9 seconds. It's crazy for me to say that I was running conservative and opened with a 4:34, but I quickly gathered myself and found a couple of people to run with over the rolling hills. Now I have to note that right at about 2.5 miles, I noticed a side stitch that I thought would go away pretty quick. But after a few minutes, it only got worse and worse until it got so bad that I actually slowed down slightly to see if I could help manage. And it was about this point that I actually started to panic, because I have never experienced a pain so strong. It got to the point that I literally could not breathe or run without extremely agonizing pain. And I actually found myself stopping in the middle of the race, looking for a way to drop out, because guys, I cannot explain just how much this hurt. However, after fumbling around for about a minute of walking, I slowly started to jog back into it, and once I got into Bloomsday Hill, the pain finally subsided, but not until after like 25 people passed me. So I went from being in about 17th place a couple miles in to about 40th place, which, needless to say, is not where I belonged, and I found myself feeling really good and rolling in the last 2.5 miles in about 4:45 average, passing several people to finish in 28th place overall, in what has to be perhaps the most anticlimactic finish I could have ever cooked up for this series. Oh my gosh. All right, we finished the race about 20-30 minutes ago, and I've had some time to really digest what happened, but I'll give you the rundown, even though I probably just broke it down in the middle of the video already. But things were going pretty well, honestly. I felt pretty good through a couple miles, faster than I had ever gone out in this race. And my stomach started hurting. And by the time I got to about mile 3, a little over 3, I mean, it was excruciating. I didn't really know what to do, so I started jogging slower, hoping it would go away. But it only got worse until about mile 4, and I finally stopped. I mean, I literally stopped, walked, and then stopped and turned around and questioned whether or not I should drop out of the race or not. And one of my good friends ran by, and he told me to run with him. I tried to, still hurt, so I stopped again until I got to Bloomsday Hill, and the pain kind of subsided, so I closed the last 2.5 miles, you know, in like sub 450 when the pain finally went away. But yeah, I don't really know what to make of it. It's definitely really frustrating. Bit of a disappointing way to end the series, but that's just life, you know. You can't control everything and make sure everything goes well. Yeah, I have to be the first one to say that was probably the most anticlimactic ending I could have imagined for this series. Sometimes your body just doesn't cooperate, and that was honestly one of the most excruciating stomach pains I've ever felt, especially while running. I'm not kidding when I say I thought something was seriously wrong with me and I had to stop. It hurt so bad. But you know what time it is? I know what time it is. The last time that I'll do this, at least for this series, the thermometer. Gosh, I love that thermometer. All right, whipping out my thermometer for this series one last time. Previously on this challenge, I made $3,800. I am sad to say that the last time I even made any money was St. George back in October. That is extremely anticlimactic. You can't script it. I didn't make any money. They could do a better job with their bibs, I'm not gonna lie. Hi. Hey, that's my hat. Gotta add it to the wall. Your favorite thing in the whole series. That's what everybody said in the comments last time. Right there. All right, that's gonna do it. If I had run even similar to what I ran last year, I still would have only been about 10th to 12th American this year. So shout out to all the Americans that showed out this year. Holy cow, it was a competitive field. That's gonna do it for this part of the video. Let's dive into those stats. All right, as promised, I'm going to break down the financial analysis. How much money did I make in total doing this challenge? And also how much money did I spend going to all of these races and on all of these trips? Did I make money or did I lose money? We're about to find out. Let's start first with how much money I made. You already know that I have made a total of $3,800 in prize money. Admittedly, far below the goal I was trying to. I also earned some money just by stipends. There were a couple of races along the way that gave me just some extra money, just to me as an elite athlete coming into the race. And in total, I was paid $550 in stipends. In addition to that, I have also given a grand total for how much money I have made from the YouTube videos that I created from the ad revenue for this series only. In total, from the previous 10 episodes, I made $1,981, which is an average of $198 per video. So assuming this video also makes $198 to agree with the average, then in total I will make $2,179 in YouTube. Okay, let's move on to the expenses. First is flights, and I will just have to make a quick note that obviously I traveled my family to a couple of these events along the way. For this, just to keep it simple, I'm only counting my ticket. So in total, I had to spend money on 6 flights. By 6 flights, I mean there were 6 trips that I had to buy flights for, and in total I spent $2,236 on flights. And that includes looking for like budget flights in some of them. Part of the issue was Minnesota was really an expensive trip. So was New York. Next is gas / rental car / Uber expenses. I rented cars in 2 of my trips, and then in other trips I either paid someone else gas money or helped pay for the rental car, or I just Ubered around. And in total I spent $666 on that. Next is hotel expenses. This one is actually pretty minimal just because there's a couple of events that provided free hotels just by being in the elite field, which I didn't have to pay for. Still, in total, I spent $553 in hotel stays. Most of that came from CIM, Mesa Half, and Bryce Canyon actually. That's probably lower than your typical travel, but I really try to do my best to minimize the cost there. Next is race entry costs. Most of these events I did not have to pay to get in because they have elite fields that they give you a complimentary entry. But some of the more local events actually don't do that. So I did end up spending $463 just on race entry. And last is food. Now, this is not perfect. I honestly just kind of gave rough estimates after I didn't count the receipts. After each event, I just gave a rough estimate how much money did I spend on food, and I totaled it up to $662. So, if you take the grand totals, total earnings, I made $6,529. Now, if you take out the YouTube money and you're only counting the stipends and the prize money, then I actually only made $4,350. And then total expenses is $4,581. So, if you don't count YouTube, I did lose money, but I only lost $231, which means I almost broke even by going to these events, which honestly I'm pretty impressed. I was actually pretty far positive before I got to this year, because this year I traveled to Spokane, Washington, to New York, to Mesa, and all of those trips I didn't really make any money at all, but I spent a lot. So that's kind of what got me back to even. But if you include the YouTube ad revenue that I made, I actually still netted positive $1,948. Not too shabby if you ask me. I was able to travel the country to Spokane, Washington twice, to Duluth, Minnesota, to Salt Lake, St. George, to Bryce Canyon, so those are those Utah places, to Sacramento, California, and of course to New York City. It has been amazing to be able to see the country, travel to various places. I just want to give a huge thank you to all of you who have followed along. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. This may be the end of the series, but it is not the end of my journey. Keep running. We'll see you in the next video.